She shows interest and then suddenly goes silent. Most men read that as rejection. But what if that assumption is the very reason so many connections die before they ever have a chance to grow? Because sometimes, when a woman pulls back, it is not because she does not care. It is because things started to feel real. Here is the uncomfortable truth. If you react the way most men do, over-explaining, reassuring, chasing clarity, you do not improve the situation. You quietly reinforce her fear. There is a psychological shift that most men completely misinterpret. Once you see it clearly, you will immediately understand the difference between true disinterest and someone stepping back from emotions they are not ready to handle. And once you understand that difference, you stop sabotaging yourself without even realizing it. Here is what most men never consider. When a woman develops unexpected feelings, her mind does not celebrate, it hesitates. Not because you did something wrong, but because emotional closeness can feel like losing control, like standing near the edge of a cliff. Not because you are falling, but because you could. That is what vulnerability feels like to someone who has learned that closeness can lead to pain. And this is where you likely made your biggest mistake. You tried to remove her fear. You explained your intentions. You reassured her. You leaned in harder, thinking clarity would make her feel safe. But instead of calming her, it had the opposite effect. It confirmed what she was afraid of, that emotions were moving faster than she could manage. So she pulled back. Not to play games, not to test you, but simply to breathe. If you do not understand this moment, you will confuse fear with rejection and respond in ways that quietly push her further away. You believed explaining yourself was the mature move, but in reality you were trying to eliminate her fear so you could feel secure again. Think about the last time she became distant. You sent that extra message, not because it was necessary, but because the silence made you uncomfortable. You wanted clarity, not for her, but to escape your own uncertainty. And in that moment, you unknowingly trained her to associate closeness with pressure. Modern women are often taught to prioritize independence, to build their own lives, their own identity, their own success, and that is powerful. But it comes with a hidden trade-off. When a woman who values her independence begins to feel something real, it creates inner tension. One part of her wants connection. Another part fears losing herself in it. She starts asking questions that have no easy answers. If I let him in, will I lose my autonomy? If I care this deeply, does that make me weak? What if I need him more than he needs me? The woman who seems hardest to reach is often the one who craves connection the most. She is just afraid of what it might cost her. Ask yourself this. Have you ever pulled away from something you truly wanted because of how strongly you wanted it? Maybe it was an opportunity. Maybe it was a dream you convinced yourself to let go of. If you have, then you already understand what she is experiencing. Here is the irony. The men who trigger these feelings are often the ones worth keeping. Because average connections do not create this kind of internal conflict, only meaningful ones do. So if she is pulling back, it may not be because you are not enough. It may be because you are exactly what she has been afraid of finding. Now here is something that might change how you see everything. She has likely tested you multiple times without ever telling you. These are not calculated tests. They happen instinctively, as a way to protect herself. They look like this. She goes cold to see if you panic and chase. She mentions other men to observe your reaction. She cancels plans to see if you become reactive or remain grounded. She opens up emotionally, then watches how you handle it. And here is the part that might sting a little. You probably failed some of these tests, not because you are weak, but because you responded from insecurity instead of stability. When she went cold, you increased your effort. When she mentioned another guy, you reacted emotionally or overcorrected. When she canceled, you took it personally instead of staying centered. But she was never testing whether you liked her. She already knew that. She was testing whether you could handle her complexity without losing yourself. Can you give space without making it about you? Can you stay steady when she is inconsistent? Can you show interest without becoming needy? The truth is, you did not even know these tests were happening, and how could you? No one teaches this. But now you see it, and that means you can respond differently. Not by playing games, but by becoming grounded within yourself. Now let us talk about the actual signs. The first one will completely change how you interpret what you thought was rejection. She is warm, engaged, responsive, deep conversations, laughter, connection. Then suddenly, the next day, short replies, emotional distance, silence. You assumed she lost interest. But what actually happened was this. The closer she felt, the more she pulled away afterward. It was not random. It was proportional. The stronger the connection, the stronger the retreat. Because closeness triggers fear, and fear triggers distance. If she truly did not care, she would remain consistently distant. No fluctuation, no intensity. But this back and forth, that is internal conflict playing out in real time. Pay attention to the pattern. If she goes cold right after moments of emotional depth, after she opens up, after a strong connection, that is your answer. She is not rejecting you. She is regulating her own emotions. Once you recognize this, everything changes. You stop taking it personally. You stop reacting impulsively. You stop doing the one thing that makes it worse, chasing harder. And that awareness gives you control. The second sign is subtle, but once you see it, it is undeniable. She takes hours to reply, but views your stories instantly. She seems distant in person, but you catch her watching you when you are not looking. She says she is busy, but remembers details you barely recall sharing. This is someone who is paying attention while trying not to. And that means she cares more than she shows. A woman who is truly uninterested does not invest mental energy into you. She does not track your behavior, revisit conversations, or notice small changes. But a woman who is conflicted, she watches closely. She knows your patterns. She notices your updates. She remembers your words. And here is the part she struggles with. Noticing means caring, and caring means vulnerability. So she compensates by acting distant in direct interaction. Think about a time when you really liked someone. You paid attention to details you normally would not. You checked their social media without thinking. That is what she is doing, except she is resisting it more because she is more afraid. What does this mean for you? It means you can communicate without saying anything. Live your life fully. Share your passions. Show growth. Show depth. Not to impress her, but because a man who is genuinely fulfilled is naturally attractive, and she will notice, even if she never says it. Another sign appears outside of your direct interaction. Her friends, they act differently around you. They give you subtle looks. They seem surprised when she acts distant. They might even encourage you to reach out or not give up. That matters. Because women do not talk about men they do not care about with their inner circle. If her friends are aware of you, it means she has been talking about you a lot. They know about the conversations, the moments, the connection, and likely her confusion too. If they create opportunities for you to spend time together or conveniently leave you two alone, that is not coincidence. That is intentional. They are rooting for something to happen, and that tells you more than her mixed signals ever could. Now here is where most men go wrong. When she pulls back, they either chase harder or they walk away completely. Both approaches fail. Chasing shows dependency. Walking away abruptly shows emotional inconsistency. Neither creates safety, neither builds attraction. So what works? Give her space, but do not disappear. Match her energy, not as a tactic, but as self-respect. If she pulls back, you pull back too. Not to punish her, but to show that your life does not revolve around her behavior. But here is the key. When you pull back, you move towards something, not into emptiness. Stay engaged with your life. Stay consistent, but not clingy. Reach out occasionally, light, genuine, and specific. Instead of, hey, haven't heard from you. Everything okay? Say, saw something that reminded me of our conversation. Thought you'd find it interesting. One communicates anxiety. The other communicates presence. And when she sees that her distance does not shake you, something shifts. Her fear begins to soften. Here is what truly creates attraction in this phase. Women are drawn to emotional depth, but turned off by emotional dependency. Depth means you understand your feelings and can express them. Dependency means you rely on her to regulate your emotions. One is attractive, the other is overwhelming. Ask yourself honestly, when she pulls away, are you afraid of losing her or losing the validation she gives you? That answer changes everything. Instead of saying, I really like you and I'm scared of losing you, say, I've been in situations where I got attached too quickly and it didn't end well. So I understand taking things slow. Same message. Completely different energy. One creates pressure, the other creates understanding. And that understanding gives her space to be human. It removes the need for her to have everything figured out. It shows her that you can handle emotional complexity without collapsing. And paradoxically, when you stop needing her to feel secure, she begins to feel safe with you. Because real security comes from someone who is grounded, not someone who clings. Now, here is the final shift. Every minute you spend overanalyzing her behavior is a minute you are not investing in your own life. Think about that. You paused your growth, your goals, your momentum, waiting for someone else to decide. Meanwhile, time moved on. Do not be that man. Train your body, not for her, but for discipline. Pursue your purpose, not to impress, but to fulfill yourself. Surround yourself with people who value you, not to create jealousy, but to reinforce your worth. Build a life you are proud of. Because when she sees you thriving, not waiting, not desperate, not affected by her distance, two things happen. She realizes you are not putting your life on hold, and she begins to feel safe, because you are stable. Here is the paradox. The more you focus on her, the less attractive you become. The more you focus on yourself, the more attractive you become. Not because of manipulation, but because you embody something rare. Stability. And stability is not boring, it is powerful. You do not need to react like most men. You can be the one who understands her fear without absorbing it, the one who gives space without disappearing, the one who stays grounded when things feel uncertain. That is not a strategy, that is maturity. And maturity is what transforms fear into trust. Here is the final truth. You cannot force someone to stop being afraid, but you can become the kind of man who makes fear feel unnecessary. Not through words, but through consistency, depth, and self-respect. This path is not easy. You may have done everything right before and still not gotten the outcome you wanted. That does not mean you failed. It means you are learning how to navigate one of the most complex parts of human connection. Because the real test is not whether she chooses you, it is whether you can care without losing yourself. The moment you become obsessed, you do not just lose her, you lose you.